I'm looking for my sister. Does she look familiar to you?
She's gone missing.
I didn't say that.
Don't you love when studios make a movie based on an existing property and change almost everything about it, so in the end it only resembles said property in name only? Yeah, it's a trend lately, and a damned infuriating one. Even though the Until Dawn PS4 game might not have had the best story, I think it's better than what we're given here. That being said, for horror fans who want something unconventional while paying homage to pretty much every horror genre out there, you might get a kick out of this.
We all got fucking murdered. And now we're here again.
Let's be honest, I doubt anyone's going into this movie expecting high art. However, when you slap the name of an existing property on something, you tend to expect some similarities with what's already out there. I love those narrative horror games by Supermassive, which are churned out at an impressive rate. They aren't exactly the pinnacle of gaming, but there's something about controlling characters in a cinematic horror experience and watching them drop one by one because of your clumsy button presses and poor decisions that's just so darn fun. My first introduction to these games was indeed Until Dawn, and while I'm not overly precious about the integrity of the story or the property overall, I have to say the depth of story and creativity is leaps and bounds above what we get in this movie. For starters, Until Dawn in the game just meant that a group of friends was trying to survive one night, hence, Until Dawn. In the movie, Until Dawn now means a time loop mechanic, where a totally different group of friends in a completely different location and an entirely different backstory have to avoid being murdered over and over in order to escape the hellish purgatory they've found themselves in. This isn't a spoiler, it's what the movie's being sold on in the trailer.
Stuck in time.
Every time we die, we find ourselves back here again.
Stuck in time.
But the night is never the same.
Problem is that the story and content of the movie is such a departure from the game, you get the feeling that the writer or director took a look at the video game box art and title and said,
Hey, isn't that cool? I bet that hourglass would make for a wicked badass mechanic. And Until Dawn, oh yeah, I got a great idea.
and then never actually played the game to see what it was about. That's a long way of saying, if you're going to see this because you're hoping for some similarity between the game and the movie beyond the tangential level, forget about it. Story-wise anyway, and just about everything else. In terms of plot, it's a year after Clover's sister Melanie has mysteriously disappeared. So Clover leads a group of friends consisting of her ex-boyfriend, her best friend Nina, Nina's boyfriend, and their friend who has psychic powers, to the remote Glore Valley, Melanie's last known location. Their search leads them to an abandoned visitor center where they're dispatched in bloody fashion by a masked killer. But they awaken to find themselves reliving the same night again and again, with each night bringing a new, more terrifying threat. They must survive until dawn to break the cycle before completely losing themselves to the nightmare. The movie does borrow some visuals from the game, like the psycho mask, the hourglass, of course, a Wendigo, and some mining tunnels, and then adds a whole lot more. It basically devolves into a series of mini horror nights, with different killers popping up like something out of Cabin in the Woods. You have a Jason like killer, zombies that look like Deadites from Evil Dead, a poltergeist, a Wendigo, and so on. The hook of the film is the gruesome ways our protagonists are taken out, again and again, and whether they can break free of the mining town that feels suspiciously like something out of Silent Hill. There's so much of an atmosphere from Silent Hill here, I started to wonder if these are supposed to be shared universes or something. Hell, there are even sirens heralding the impending descent into terror a couple times. These elements, combined with a reset mechanic and the dwindling number of lives the protagonists have before they lose themselves to the place, make for a more video gamey feeling movie than the actual video game it's based on.
How many more deaths do you have in you?
Nobody's made it past 13 nights.
As for the characters, they're an oddly soy-infused bunch, a tight-knit group of friends with no real standouts, and who pretty much always cooperate and get along with one another, except for Nina's boyfriend, who's kind of an outsider and gets ostracized for being the most logical one there. I won't spoil anything, but I certainly wouldn't be staying with Nina after what happens in the movie. Criticize horror films all you want for lazy archetypes like the jock, the shy girl, the nerdy guy with a good heart, the prom queen with loose morals, etc.,
What's the point? They're all the same. Some stupid killer stalking some big-breasted girl who can't act, who's always running up the stairs when she should be going out the front door. It's insulting.
But at least they give the characters some identity. This group is so generically universal and friends to the end. I found myself missing the annoying assholes from the game. It's at least fun to see the characters you hate meet a grisly end. This movie is missing some of that spice, except for the boyfriend, but even he doesn't push the envelope too much. The kills are really over the top, gory, bordering on humorous at times, and the thrills are about what you'd expect from a horror movie like this. The effects are good and the cinematography is decent. It doesn't feel cheap. Though I wouldn't call this scary in any way, except for a few jump scares. The premise is pretty horrifying, but the resetting lives mechanic deflates any real tension, even for the characters, who start to game the system for a more favorable outcome. The antagonist is fun to watch, though the reasons why he's doing what he's doing are a complete departure from the game, and only explained at a surface level, with a whole lot of cryptic implications as to his real nature. The whole plotline for him and what's occurring is pretty thin, and it's the same for what's actually going on in this physics-defying valley and the rules of the world in general. Not that everything needs explaining, but this is really nebulous, and the way the antagonist is dispatched is really hokey in my opinion. It feels sloppy and far too easy. Sometimes you feel like you're watching Cabin in the Woods, sometimes Resident Evil, and sometimes The Mist. It's a hodgepodge of ideas with a time loop mechanic to hold the entire thing up. It takes more than a gimmick to make a compelling story, though, and that's kind of where the movie falls apart. I say kind of because there is a story there, it's just not that great or fully fleshed out, and you can tell where the bulk of the creative energy went. Despite that, though, I'm not gonna lie, I actually had some fun with this one. It's not a great movie by any means, but I was entertained by the variety of monsters and kills, and how ridiculously gory it all is. And Peter Stormare is great as usual. Dude's solid in pretty much everything. In the grand pantheon of horror movies, though, this rate's pretty low. I'd give it a 4 out of 10, and I think that's being generous, because I sort of liked it in a switch your brain off and watch the carnage kind of way. But critically speaking, the story's pretty poor, the characters are weak, it's not particularly scary, and the ending feels lame. Oh, and it's yet another movie that completely ignores the source material and opts to do something else. Something other than a fan of the original property probably bought their ticket to see. I guess the game is already like a movie, though, with none other than Rami Malek in it, so you can play that again if you're wanting the real experience. I haven't tried the remake yet. Maybe I'll check it out. Did you see Until Dawn, or have you played the game? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.
Oh, what? Is it gone?
Yeah, it's gone.
What? It's still in my pants!